Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network. The broadcast shows are for informational and entertainment purposes only. They are not designed to provide listeners with specific personal, medical, or counseling advice. Individuals with a medical issue should always consult their healthcare provider. MS&Me is not responsible for content of individual shows. The views expressed by show hosts or their guests are their own. Enjoy the show.
Hey y'all, welcome to Straight Up with MS and all its crazy little circles here on MS and Me Radio, brought to you by the MS Global Support Networks. I'm Patty Long, I'm your host, and you can find me at MSENIT, the number 4, LIFE, and I say that MSing it for life because that's what we're doing. You know, we're MSing it for life out here, and you can find me on Twitter, and I'm hoping that I'll actually get some videos on YouTube soon because yay, I'm learning. Oh my gosh, it's taking me so long to learn how to do anything. It's ridiculous. You'd think I'd been dumb all my life or something. But no, only a few years now, nearly 6. But, you know, I'll count that as a few in the scheme of things. And so, you know, but a lot of people think that I started with this disease where I am today. But no, I have climbed up and out of a hole that was so freaking deep. And I don't just mean a depression hole. I mean a whole hole. I had one acute exasperation by the medical definitions after another. Every other month, every 2 months, I was in one of these things. So the end of June was the first one. And prior to that, I had no clue. If you ever listen to or watch Dr. Aaron Boster at Ohio Health MS, if you watch his videos, you will find this video on the leaky pool. And I absolutely love this concept. It is so good. In fact, I highly suggest it. But it's talking about how you have a swimming pool with a deep end and a shallow end, you know, a nice big huge pool, and you have stalagmites growing inside your pool, and each one of those stalagmites is like a symptom, or what I would call an issue, because why? I think issues can be solved, y'all, and we've already gone into the whole theory of mine on permanent damage a few weeks back, and I just called that episode Do I Believe, you know, because I'm a really wishy-washy on the subject of do I believe it's permanent or not. And I know it is in many respects, but it really isn't in many others. So it's all in how you choose to look at things. So now I've forgotten where I was at, but you know, I started off really, really bad. So when people tell me, oh, well, you don't have it bad, my friend has it real bad, I think, if you only saw me win. Because in my very first one of these attacks, I lost my legs completely. I lost my arms completely. I couldn't even hold an 8-ounce already opened, squishy plastic drink bottle. That's how bad my arms were. And it was equal on both sides. So that, according to my doctor, meant it was in my spine. Because, you know, both arms, both legs, you know, all this stuff all at once. Both eyes were messed up, although one eye was much worse. My right eye was much worse. My left eye, I got to black and white, but I didn't go blind in. And let's face it, blurry and black and white isn't barely seeing much, you know. And then, you know, I couldn't think, I couldn't hardly speak, and all this kind of stuff. So I do know what it's like. And then I had another attack, end of June. September, beginning of September to the mid-September. Um, right before Thanksgiving, that year I finished my 5th dose of Solu-Medrol. And 5 doses, people, only slowed this thing down. It didn't 100% stop it. And then 2 months after that, I'm in another one, and then another one, and then another one. I've had so many attacks in 2.5 years, to a little over 2.5 years, but 2.5 to 3 years. I've had more attacks in that time period than most people have in a lifetime. But I'm very, very, very unusual. We are few and far between. I had both an active form of MS, and you can hear about these definitions from Dr. B, who could explain them much better than I can. Look him up, guys. He's on YouTube, Dr. Aaron Boster, and he is at Ohio Health MS. And you can find him because I've got a subscription to his YouTube page, obviously. So you can find him through my page, if nothing else. But he is awesome at explaining things. And he's doing all kinds of videos, about 5 minutes or so each. And it's easily digestible in that 5 minutes. And even if you have to watch it twice, 3 times, 4 times, you will get it, because he makes it that simple to understand. But you can have an active disease, or you can have a progressive disease. And whether or not you're relapsing remitting, secondary progressive, primary progressive, or clinically isolated syndrome by definition is just it in and of itself, but that's the very beginning stages, they've decided. But regardless of which one of these forms of MS you end up with, well, then it could be either active or inactive, as well as progressive or not progressive. So they're adding these extra terms, and mine was both active and progressive and relapsing. So I had all of it. So maybe that's why I'm not afraid, because I've already been to the worst that it could possibly be. I've already experienced near death from choking. I've already fell out in a restaurant and hit the floor, taking down tables and chairs, and probably should have gone to the hospital, but the paramedics here, by law, have to ask you if you want to go. And I couldn't make a decision. And the only thing I could decide upon was that I wanted to go home. Okay. So they didn't take me to the hospital. My dad, who is with me, took me directly to the doctor's office and then insisted they see me because I was already waiting on them to call. I knew what was happening. I'd been through plenty of attacks already. I knew what it was, and I knew it was getting progressively stronger. This attack was building and building and building and rolling. So I've already been to the worst place. So maybe that's why I'm not scared. But I can tell you this, that fear is a negative thing, and we cannot be afraid of our MS. And we have to look at each day 100% based on itself. And we have to start each day with a big giant grin on our face and not take things too seriously, And I hear people say, well, and this whole subject has come because I have I participate, as I told you before. I am big on #ChatMS. It comes on Monday nights. Randy Patrick is in charge, and a couple of weeks ago, he did one on anxiety, on a chat, blah, 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 blah. I'm getting so tongue-tied, but we'll get to that in a minute. But he did this amazing chat on anxiety, and then another one on fear. And I had no idea that so many people out there were scared to death of their MS. And I don't want you to be scared of your MS. I want you to live each day for itself and remember that today is the only day that is predictable. Today is the only day that we need to be happy in, because yesterday is gone. It's done. It's over with. And there's no, step back in time and go back there and change things. You just, that kind of thing is the movies, right? And it's fun to watch and it's fun to think about, but it's not real. And there's no such thing as a crystal ball either. And I tell people this one all the time: no crystal ball out there. So, if you are told this is going to happen, this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and it's going to happen within the next blah, blah years and whatever, that doesn't mean it's going to be true. It's only true when you start believing it. And then it's true, because it's become a self-fulfilling prophecy. I got the words out, which is amazing because I figured I'd really botch that 100 times over. But, and they even talked about that in Harry Potter. My daughter was very big into Harry Potter. So yes, I've read them all. But they even talked about that in Harry Potter, the self-fulfilling prophecy. If you think it so, then it is, and you've drilled that into your head. And instead of drilling that into your head, drill into your head that today is going to be a great day. There's nothing to be scared about. I'm going to live my day with a giant smile on my face, and I'm going to go for it. And what happens, happens. I mean, when you think about it, and I've been told that I grossly simplify things sometimes. And I guess I do, but it gets my point across, So every time we get into a car, for instance, go to the grocery store, go to wherever, go to play pool, which is what I'm going to be doing here soon. But when we get in our cars, whether we are driving or we're riding with somebody, we're taking a chance. Every day there are accidents on the roads. Every single day. But we are not afraid to get in our car. But there's accidents. But we don't lay awake at night wondering, am I going to be in an accident tomorrow? Oh my gosh. What if my car breaks down and I'm on the highway? Am I going to be in an accident tomorrow? Is somebody going to sideswipe me tomorrow? Are deer antlers going to come through my windshield and impale me? We don't wonder these things. But these kinds of things do happen. Hopefully never to you, because, we don't think about it happening to us. And we don't think about the fact that accidents themselves happen, but they're unpredictable. And the whole deer thing comes from the fact that my oldest son, was riding in a pickup truck with somebody else. There was a couple of them. Nobody was doing anything wrong. There was, just going to where they were needing to go. And they hit a deer. Deer jump out in the middle of the road all the time, and they hit a deer. And my son said he could see antlers coming directly at his face. Now the truck and the framing and all of that stopped this big buck from actually coming all the way through on him. But he's got an antler that broke off in the process, And of course, the deer did die, and the truck was totaled, and it was awful. But he's got this antler as a souvenir from what he went through, you know. My son's a trooper. He's a warrior in himself, you know. So he just won't quit. He refuses to. And I do too. And I guess he got his attitude from me, and I got my attitude from my grandfather. And so when I was told wheelchair, 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 I said, no, no, no. What's the point? Because I can't use my arms, so I'm not going to do anything but sit in that freaking chair. So I refused. And there really wasn't a point. And that's exactly how I saw it. And people would think I was mad or that I didn't accept it or blah, blah, blah about they had their own opinions of me. And you know what I tell you all the time? Other people's opinions do not matter. Your opinion matters. What do you think of you? Do you think you're a great person and you just have a crappy hand of cards at the moment? Or do you think you're a great person with a crappy hand that you're playing really well? And I want y'all all to be the person that got a bunch of 2s and 3s and 4s, but has no pairs, no runs, no same, you know, you have no hand. You're going to lose your hand in poker if you played against a normal hand, you know. So even another hand that had no pairs would still win because they'd have higher cards, right? So, you know, you may have that sort of hand. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean you have to be afraid. And I use sarcasm to deal with a lot of things with other people, but fear isn't something I have to deal with others. Fear is something that's completely within ourselves. So we are the only ones that can handle it. We are the only ones that can knock it out. And fear will make our MS go nutty. So will anxiety. So will physical stress, like my fever. All of these kinds of negative emotions cause MS to go completely nuts. And then your symptoms are all wacky. So how do you tell if it's a real relapse or not a real relapse? Well, if it's a real relapse, there's no flip-floppity at all to any issue. Not a single issue will flip-flop. It will either remain constant for at least 2 days or a day plus. You know, you wait the full day, the full 24 hours. So it either remains completely constant or it just gets worse and worse and worse during that time period. And then you might very well have a relapse. But if there's flip-floppiness to any symptom that you have, any one of them, then it's what you would call a pseudo-relapse, and it's most likely the cause of illness or stress or something like that. If it still remains a problem and you're not running a fever, I suggest you go to your family doc and maybe get checked to make sure you don't have some kind of infection you don't know. Or if you haven't been to the dentist in a long time, try a dentist, because that sort of thing will also be a physical stressor and can cause your symptoms to be really wacky. But most of the time we can figure out why it's so wacky. And fear and anxiety is a big part of that. So as soon as you put that fear away for good, then you can move on and you'll be happier, and your body will act better, your brain will act better. Not that it's going to all go away. I mean, do I believe in permanent damage? That was, you know, one of those wishy-washy things. And, you know, obviously there is. but at the same time, there isn't. So I didn't know. I was very back and forth about it. And fear drives it to be more of a permanent fixture in your life, or at least I believe it does. Because if we're always worried and always afraid, then the same thing is going to always keep getting in our way. And we want it out of our way. We want to smile. We want to laugh. Laughing is so important. So, do I wake up in the morning and test my legs to see if they work? No, I don't. I honestly do not. Do I wake up in the morning and stretch my legs and point my toes as hard as I can, even if they're not really pointed, and then pull my toes back towards me with my knees straight, even if they're not solidly straight? Yes, I do. I think stretching is a wonderful, wonderful thing to do. And so I start my day first thing in the morning. I mean, not even a little off from first thing. Before I get out of the bed first thing, I stretch. I stretch my legs, I stretch my back, and I stretch my shoulders back and all that, and with my shoulders down and back. And I stretch my arms out by my side. I don't go over my head because then I'd hit the headboard. I mean, duh. So, I don't do that. But I do a lot of stretches, just straight line stretches. And then I get up, I go to the bathroom, I look in the mirror, and I laugh my butt off at how crazy my hair looks in the morning. I mean, you make a smile, you smile at somebody else, and you know what? They're going to smile. So if I smile at myself, guess what? It's going to help me to smile. So that's what I want y'all to practice doing if you're having a hard time. And I want you to remember that nobody has a predictable life. Whether they've got MS, or they've got something else, or they don't. We have to play our cards really well. Really, really well. We have to pay more attention to be our best. And we have to do things that other people don't. But, once you learn to put these negative emotions away, and I write them, and I still write. I'll write and I'll be mad or whatever, and I'll write and I'll scribble this stuff down, and then I'll tuck it away in a box, never to be looked at. But I've written it down and I've gotten rid of it. Who knows? Maybe one day I'll try and put the pieces that are inside the boxes, because now there's more than one, and then I've got notes on phones and recordings on phones and recordings on computers, and oh my gosh, stuff is everywhere. So maybe one day I'll put it all together and try and write a book from it and make a diary of it. I don't know. But then, I think what a great thing for somebody to do after I die, I mean, really, that'll give them something to do. They can get all into my life then. Judge me now, right? Judge me now. So, I am a smart aleck, and I like being a smart aleck. I like watching a person's jaw drop when I tell them why it matters in my way, and I'm not going to be afraid of it. So nobody can predict what's going to happen. And before we go, because I don't want to run out of time again, I got to share, and I say again because you're gonna hear why in just a second. But I got to share this story with y'all because I hope that you find it as funny as I do. And it's, I'm recording this show, and I'm going to call it Fear Not. And it's all about the unpredictability of MS, and who cares that it's unpredictable. Just deal with today. And don't worry about tomorrow. Because tomorrow is not a crystal ball, y'all. Tomorrow isn't necessarily going to be bad. And there's no sense making yourself sick over something that may not ever happen. You know, and so I don't want you to. So I'm recording today's show, and I started my first recording I did, and I hate to have to re-record. And the first one I did, and I heard the 11 o'clock hour go off. My phone, you know, telling me what time it is. So I finished my show, and it was 30 minutes and 50 seconds, way past the allotted time. I screwed up. You know, I wasn't paying attention, and I really screwed up. Recording number 2. I start stuttering really, really bad about halfway in. Oh, gosh. And usually I can just go, da, 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 whatever, and get my stuttering to stop by doing something silly. But no, not this time. So I did that like 2 or 3 times and said, screw it, and stopped. So I stopped it and I took a break. Recording number 3. I'm almost to the point of wrapping things up and saying goodbye, and my battery dies on the laptop. Now, this is 100% preventable, but the part of the brain that should have told me to check the battery didn't check it. And when the battery died, the only thing I could think in my head was, oh no, it didn't. And then I laughed. You know, that was the last thought that came to my mind, or the first thought, or the only thought, or whatever, you know, it's the only thing I thought of. And of course, poof, that episode was gone. So I put the laptop on the charger. It gets charged up again. So I'm going for try number 4, I think. And in try number 4, I'm coughing like crazy. I had gone outside just before, and wow, spring hasn't exactly sprung. It's kind of sort of sprung, but we have March winds and April flowers going on, and oh my gosh, the tree pollen alone is enough to choke you. So there went number 4. So I'm sitting there thinking, I hope the 5th one is a charm. And hopefully, it would be. Because I got pool tonight, and I love going to pool. And I still have to listen to it and make sure, but I think this one's a cincher, and I'm keeping it, you know? And my time is up, so just before I say goodbye, I want to remind y'all, less stress, less anxiety, less fear. Think about it like getting out in your car. I'm not going to be scared to go on a ride here, there, or other way, you know, go to the doctor's or whatever tomorrow when I need to go. And I'm not thinking about that, so I don't need to worry about whether or not my MS is going to act up. Okay, let's assume it's not, and deal with it if it does. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense, and I didn't just ramble because I've done this so many times already. And I hope you find the irony in the unpredictability a-okay. Love you guys. Take care. Thanks for listening. Bye. And bye again.